Good morning, and good morning again. Happy Saturday to you, my friends. What a great day it is to be alive. We're just thankful today that you're able to join us by way of social media. What a great day it is. I want to say welcome to our Facebook Live family who continues to be faithful and diligent. I want to also say welcome to those of you who are joining by way of YouTube on today. We're just so thankful that you're able to make a connection with us. That's what it's all about. And maybe you're dialing in by way of a landline. We have three means for you to connect with us today. We want to say, listen, if you're listening to me, it means you are a survivor. And the fact is, Paul said it like this, actually speaking, you're more than a conqueror. I want to say to you, welcome this morning. Maybe you have someone today that you want to share this with. We're going deep and diving deep around this whole notion of self-care. Listen, it's not an option, but it's a necessity if you're going to survive. You must find a way to get some balance. That's exactly right. And if you know someone that is struggling in this way, they're doing great work, but getting burnt out, overwhelmed, listen, overworked, this session, these series here are developed just for you. So you can send this link. As a matter of fact, you can hit this share button, or you can type the link in to a text message to someone. Dr. K.O. Williams Space Ministry is the Facebook handle if they're trying to join us there. You want to join us by way of YouTube, you can do that as well. Type in the YouTube channel, Dr. K.O. Williams Space Ministry. You see the landline if you want to join us. Your voice matters. Listen, let me tell you something. This here session is a direct result of somebody asking to get some coaching around being overwhelmed, overworked, listen, burnt out. The list just goes on and on. And so if you have another topic that you want us to give some coaching and some resources around, send us a comment in the bit.ly/RealTalk Your Voice. We'll get that and get on it for you and make you aware. Listen, 60 minutes. We go straight in every Saturday that the good Lord send as best we can. Sometimes life gets in the way, but trust me, we've tried to be diligent over the last 2 years. 2 years, listen to that. Listen, never would have happened if we had never stepped forward. And so for that, we're thankful, and the lesson is clear. Nothing beats a failure but a try. Every Saturday that we can, we send you 60 minutes of real, straight, live, honest, transparent conversation about life's issues. Right now, we're trying to help somebody who's trying to juggle all these balls and still remain balanced at the same time. Want to also tell you that we never try to leave without giving you some practical tools to put in your toolbox. It's no different in this session as well. Stay with us until we can get those resources to you in this presentation. Anyone can join, but we ask typically that it be an adult, because we try to get down in the dirty with some real honest and transparent conversation. Let's get started today. We're here today on a brand new series entitled Burnout. Yes, I'm telling you right now, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. It can happen to the best of the best. And so what we want to do today, this series is about trying to help you find some balance, because I'm telling you right now, I've seen it. I've been at the threshold myself, and you know what I find? People will continue to ask. They will continue to make their requests known, and it's up to you. That's right. It's up to you to set some boundaries and to set some framework to which people have access to you. I'm already talking good on a Saturday. People should have access based on your boundaries. That's a good place for somebody to write something down. We have been talking about this just briefly. We talked about a brief definition, if you will. We've been using several scholars and psychiatrists and psychologists who've weighed in on this definition of self-care. I want you to just type self-care into the chat this morning, because what we want you to do is to focus on your care. That's exactly right. You've been spending time, you've been focusing, you've been really narrowed in, laser focused on others. But I'm telling you that that's well and wonderful, and there's a place for that. But there's also a place called self-care. One psychiatrist says, my definition of self-care means knowing what is needed to ensure your health and happiness in life. There it is right there. That was according to Dr. Goggins. Listen, I totally agree, because what good is it for you to help others to try to achieve their goals and health and happiness, and then end up that you are not healthy yourself? Lord have mercy. Or you're not happy yourself, because you do understand there are separate constructs, that you can be happy and not healthy, and you can be healthy and not happy. Oh, that's another day's topic. But I want to tell you right now, somebody else talked about it as like being a good mother, saying that, you know, the mother causes you to wake up and eat some broccoli, eat some nutrients, brush your teeth, go to bed on time. And a good mother keeps you in line, trying to take all this into account by asking you to refresh your body as well as your mind. Lord have mercy. Listen, I'm excited because this will set your soul free. We have so many people focusing on their body and not their wellness of their mind. Listen, I want to help somebody today that this notion around self-care, I love what Dr. Shaw said. And when he asked, what are the benefits? I know somebody saying, Williams, what's the big deal? Why is it so important to have self-care? Well, Dr. Shaw argues taking good care of yourself is critical for having, listen to this, physical, mental, emotional energy to accomplish your goals. Dr. Shaw says it's just like a car that needs regular maintenance. Who is it? I'll put my hand up first. Listen, I don't care how good the car is and how fancy the car is. At some point, the car is designed to bring it back in for some type of maintenance. And I want to suggest to you that you, as a human, you're designed to do the same thing. Your body is designed, your mind, your whole being is designed for regular maintenance to run properly. And listen to this, without self-care, we are destined to break down. Oh my goodness, I see cars on the side of the road, fancy cars, but they're on the side of the road, which means that they need some type of maintenance. And so we've been talking about this. We want to get down and dirty today, start giving you some types of self-care to be mindful of. But I want you to know that you should take away from this session today that just like a car is new, and if you drive it long enough, you're going to need some maintenance. And I want you to love yourself enough to start factoring in self-care. If you haven't done it already, go ahead and type self-care into the chat, because what we want to get into your inner self is the ability and the awareness of self-care. So let's get started on our PowerPoint on today. We've had one presented for you, and we're ready to take that forward. So we talked about already the different forms of self-care. Now, when you look at this is just something I hope you will actually take notes and go back and review these, because there's more than one way to take care of yourself. Oh, let's get started on a Saturday morning. First of all, you can get started by having physical self-care. That's exactly right. That one that you can see from the naked eye, which is a big one, because sometimes we can look at a person and say, that person is burnt out. That person is overwhelmed. That person is really trying to do too much. We also have mental self-care. That there are times, we're going to give you some examples about these in just a second. But mental self-care, you should take care of your mental space. So many people post-pandemic are realizing that this is a necessity as it relates to taking care of not only your physical self, but your mental self. And then how about your emotional self? I'm telling you, we're going to dig deep into these shortly. The ability to be able to have a healthy emotional space, that your emotions are not all over the place. I see people, my gosh, that need to manage their emotions because their emotions are managing them. On to the next. We also got to have some spiritual self-care. I'm a pastor and a faith leader. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that you need to be able to look after your spirit man. Oh, yes, your spiritual being. That we are trifold beings. We have a body, we have a mind, and we have a spirit. Yes, and that spirit person, that spirit being needs some self-care. You cannot put it on autopilot. Just like a car, you need some maintenance on that spiritual being. And then how about social self-care? The fact, when's the last time you took yourself out? That's right, I said it. Took yourself out to the movies. That's exactly right. We're going to deal with them in just a second. And don't forget self-care around your finances. Oh, it's a big one because you need some balance in your financial space as well. Let's get started. I want to talk about several of these as much as we'll have time for today. I want to spend the bulk of our time just really talking about the different forms of self-care. All right, next slide for me. So when we look at the forms of self-care, here it is right here, this notion of self-care. We'll work through a couple of these and try to give you some details as we look at these. So self-care, when we look at self-care, what we find is, first of all, physical. This type of self-care is taking care of your body. Dr. Godwin says it involves getting enough sleep, making sure to work movement into your day, and fueling your body with nourishing foods. And so we know for sure that there are what we call brain foods. We know for sure that there are what we call energy foods. And then we also know that there are things we can do to promote energy and stimulate blood vessels and heart muscles. And so what we want to ask you is, if you've been overworked, if you've been overwhelmed, this will save you. Y'all ready for this? A copay. Because some of our problem is that we're just burnt out. And when you get burnt out, when you go into this place of being overwhelmed, it affects you physically. Your energy, your sleep patterns. Like, when is the last time you were able to just lay down and go to sleep? Your mind, watch this. I do want to talk about it. Your mind is racing even while you're sleeping. And I've heard people say, man, when I woke up, I was so tired. Seemed like I'd been running a marathon through the night. And what people don't realize is that you have to incorporate self-care strategies. For example, the kind of music you listen to while you're trying to go to sleep, it is clear, has an impact on your sleep and your sleep wellness. Absolutely. That's why scholars say things like that ocean music or elevator music or soft instrumental music, These are things that causes the mind not to race so well, so fast, so often, and gives you a fighting chance at a good night's rest. Lord, I'm trying to help somebody. Cut that TV off when you trying to get some physical self-care. Cut that cell phone off. Listen, physical self-care. You have to factor it in to your regimen. That's your routine, y'all. For example, when you get up in the morning, somebody say, I can't walk no 5 miles. Well, walk 10 steps. At least start doing something. We now know that the research says that the new smoking is sitting. That's exactly right. And what we know for sure is that when you sit all the time, you're not giving your body the best chance to be the best you. Exercise your muscles, stimulate your heart to get that pulse going, to get that heart rate moving. Always check with your physician to see what's the best practical application. But everyone will tell you that physical movement is a direct self-care when you are burnt out. Get moving. Make it your business to get moving. I'm in corporate America, and do you know the new model for corporate America is these moving desks. Like at my desk, there are buttons I can push to raise the desk up high so that I could stand up and continue to work rather than sitting there all day. I am trying my best to say to us as a people, used to when my grandparents was coming up, they would work out in the field, get up early in the morning. I know my grandmother, my great aunts, I would love to go down and visit them, because the reality was they were so used to getting up early in the morning, making breakfast and lunch for those people in the family that were children or husband that would be working out in the field all day. And when they came in, boy, did they have a dinner waiting on them. We don't have that now, and we have more people using these fingers in our mind. Most people spend more time behind a computer screen now. And the reality is some people spend 8 hours. They come in, clock in, and they never move from that position. And I'm telling you right now, what we need more of is movement. If I close right now, it would be a game changer for someone, because you cannot get life's best if you don't factor movement into your regimen. Like, figure out a way. I talked to a lady the other day. She said, Reverend, I'm 70 years old and I can't get out there and walk like you all can and do all that running. I said, ma'am, they have now what's called sitter size. Listen, it's something for everybody. I told her you can sit at the edge of your chair, lift your knees, listen, move your pelvis, listen, move your shoulders. Listen, there are many things that you can do, but you have to have a mindset that I'm going to have movement into my day. And not only movement, but some healthy foods. I'm not saying that you can't eat that fried chicken. That is not what I'm saying. But I am saying that in the process, you have to factor in some healthy foods to give yourself the ability to be your best self. That's one way for us to deal with making provisions for us to be our best selves. I'm going to challenge you today. Find a way to get out, move. If it's raining, start at the front door and walk to the kitchen a couple of times. But what you're saying is that under no circumstances will you choose any longer to just sit. The research has come back in. Listen, and it is a slam dunk that you can improve your overall physical self by moving a little better and also eating a little healthier. There it is right there. And then you ought to have an accountability partner for your physical. Call a friend Call a relative. Somebody say, hey, listen, we're getting ready to turn the page. We wanna implement or start some self-care. They're gonna say, what you mean? We want to give some maintenance to ourselves physically, and we got to get moving. I dare you. Triple double dog day. I promise you. I talked to someone just recently, and they said, you know what? My hip was hurting, and I got out and started walking. And they say, I feel better. If I had known this, I'd been walking all along. Number one, when you're trying to have self-care and look out for yourself, give yourself some maintenance, get moving. That's number one, physical. Number two is mental. Oh my goodness. Listen, we had a whole series around mental health, just how important it is to make good space in your mental self. I want to tell you, mental self-care starts with paying attention to how you're talking to yourself, says Dr. Shaw. If you're feeding yourself toxic messages like that you aren't good enough, when's the last time you spoke to yourself such negative energy? I'm not good enough. I don't have enough. I can't talk well enough, or I can't present as well as somebody else. I don't have the house like somebody else. I don't have the car like someone else. My clothes don't look like someone else. When was the last time you fed yourself a toxic message? I don't have that kind of learning like that person. I'll never be able to speak publicly like they can. Well, I want to tell you something. You need some mental self-care. Mental self-care replaces that something more encouraging. Can I say it again? Mental self-care replaces that toxic messaging with something more encouraging. Dr. Shaw says another aspect is challenging yourself intellectually, such as through word game apps like Wordle. I'm giving you some resources, or reading or learning a new language in your mental space, that you're saying that you are good enough and you are beautiful enough. You are appealing enough. You are smart enough. Listen, my friend, I told you, in your mental space, you got to guard that space, because sometimes it's not you who are bringing those toxic messages. Sometimes you are around company that's bringing the negative messages. And you have to be just as watchful. You have to listen just as careful, because sometimes people realize you're on your way up. Can I help bless somebody's soul? Sometimes you're on your way up to your next level, and some of your immediate circle, they see it and they're afraid of your success. And they'll do everything they can to say things like, do you think you're doing too much? Or is all that necessary? Or the one I love is, you seem a little bit different. You're not the same person that you used to be. My friend, let me help somebody today. You need to remove that toxic messaging from your mental space. And there was a song by the Angelics, an old African-American hymn that says, if you can't help me, move out of my way. I got a race to run, and I'm running by faith. Because at the end of this race, I want to see his face. Listen, I'm telling you today, take inventory. There's another homework assignment for you. My friend, take one step back and see what kind of messages you're allowing into your mental space. Listen, when you read the book that I showed you called Boundaries, it says in the mental space, It's like a gate. Oh my gosh, I'm going to help bless somebody today. And what the author says is you got to learn to shut the gate, because you got the gate open and you're allowing people or yourself to speak this toxic messages in your mental space. And the problem with the gate is, if you got negativity in your mental space, you need to open that gate, hear me good, and kick that negativity out and then shut the gate. I feel good on a Saturday morning because somebody, part of your challenge, you can't experience self-care because you're locked in a space where there's a lot of toxic messages. Well, your daddy won't nothing. So guess what? You may as well to quit fighting and swimming upstream, some say. Just accept it. You just ain't going to be good enough. The devil is a liar. I come to declare war today on somebody to tell you, you are what God says you are, and you can be what God says you can be. As a matter of fact, in that mental space, I declare to myself, what God has for me, it is for me. You ought to type it in the chat. Put your hand over your heart and declare over your life what God has for you. It is for you. It's in that mental space that you cannot allow this toxic energy to keep roaming around. And sometimes you got to call it out. But not only call it out, take another action step. Open that gate and kick that negativity out. Listen, because what I've come to discover is that the good book is true. The Bible is clear when it says two people cannot walk together except they agree. I'm trying to help somebody. That bad company, Proverbs says, corrupts good manners. I'm trying to help somebody today that part of your self-care is doing some inventory around those people who are trying to be in your mental space, but dropping toxicity all along the way. I'm here to declare unto you that you deserve better. God has more for you. And the reality is that your best days are ahead of you. But you got to get that toxicity out of your space, out of your mental space. And those persons who are not trying to go with you, you got to declare war. That if you're not going with me, I got to move forward, because what God has for me, it is for me. Listen, your mental space. This is a big one, because I say to people all the time, I don't want to rush through this self-care, because I am telling you right now that part of our challenge is we have the tools, just need somebody to help us, to show us how to use them. Can I help somebody today? The Bible is clear. It says, as a man thinketh, so is he. It's a powerful declaration that in your mental space, you cannot allow this toxic energy or toxic messaging to surface and have its right away. Oh, no, my friend. You have to declare and decree that in your mental space is godly things and godly thoughts. As a man thinketh, so is he. I am somebody. When I get up in the morning, I have 3 declarations. You hang out with me enough, you'll learn them. Number 1, I tell myself that nothing is going to happen to me today that will shock God. It is a strong declaration to myself and the energy that's going to be around me today, that there's a higher power called God the Father, who already knows the plans he has for me. That's Jeremiah 29:11, by the way. And I say that God is not going to be shocked. And then number 2, I remind myself that whatever happens today, that I serve a God who can take it, turn it around, and then use it for my good. Let me talk to somebody today that you may be going through a hard time, but I want you to get your head up because I got some good news for you, that there's a higher power who has the ability to take what seems to be evil. Do I have any witnesses that will say along with me? I had some folk that meant for evil, some things, set some traps, set some booby traps, listen, set some blunders along the way. But I serve a God who took and turned it and used it for my good. And I'm telling you today, if it had not been for the Lord on my side, I don't even know where I would be. So I tell myself that I serve a God who's all powerful. He's omnipotent. That means he has power to do anything but fail. And he can take what seems to be evil and he can use it for my good. And then number 3, I tell myself that I am somebody. Yes, every morning. I don't need to go out to nobody trying to go tell me that I am somebody. I am somebody because I am a child of God, and he has said in his word, which I do believe and stand on, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. I believe that. And so therefore, sometimes it'll cause people to think that you arrogant or cocky. None of the above. I'm just confident. I want to bless somebody's soul today. The reality is you don't have to apologize for being confident, because the God you serve, if you believe, Deuteronomy 28, listen, he says, I'll bless you going in. Y'all don't get me started today. I'll bless you going out. He said, listen, I'll make you the head and not the tail. I am somebody. I'll make you a lender and not a borrower. Listen, he goes on for 15 verses trying to declare just how blessed you are. And so I tell you right now, when I get up in the morning, I remind myself that I am somebody. I don't know how much time I got left, but I do want to talk about the emotional self-care. So we know that you got to get moving. We know that you got to shut the gate and let these toxic things out. And then thirdly, we know about emotional self-care. Emotional self-care is about understanding your emotions. Ooh, Dr. Shaw says a lot of people go through life just reacting and not understanding. Oh my goodness. Where those reactions are coming from. Now, there's a whole lot of different emotions, but I want to talk with you, as you heard me say earlier. People go through life just reacting and not understanding. For example, if you knew that the pink slip that the manager, watch this, my friends. If you knew that the pink slip that the manager was getting ready to hand you was the key that unlocked the door to the next chapter in your life, you would actually thank the manager and might even shout on the way out the door, because you understand that God is working it out for your good and that he's in charge. And if he causes this job to go away, oh, bless the name of God, he must have something better for me. I want to talk to somebody who's on the brink of a foreclosure. And I want to tell you that the reality is that if God allows and brings you to it, I got good news for you. He'll bring you through it. Because the same God that got you that property, can I bless your soul today, is the same God that can create another. For the Bible is clear. God has a 1,000 cattle, Lord have mercy, on the hill. And I want to help somebody today that God is in the business of taking what seems to be evil. I want to put my hand up first and tell you, you're listening to a living witness, that I had to learn to understand and not be so quick to react. Because here's what we find. that once you react, that becomes an act or a behavior. And if you keep that up, there's a whole statement about that. And so what I want to suggest to you is, as in your ability for self-care, seek out ways to put a pause before you react. That's right. Because when you put the pause there, it gives you a moment to level set and understand that if God brought me to it, his grace will take me through it. I want to bless somebody's soul today. Sometimes you don't even have to understand why you got there, because that's part of our challenges. Humans, we just want to know. And sometimes, as the old Negro spiritual says, we'll understand it better by and by. But in the meantime, I want to help somebody to understand that when you can't understand, at the very least, create an attitude of gratitude. What does that mean, Williams? An attitude of gratitude. Your emotions should be couched within a vessel of praise. And so sometimes it's a hard praise when you're going through a hard situation. But what we know is that as humans, it's a human mystery that when you bless God, you will raise God. Let me unpack that for somebody. That God inhabits the praises of his people. In your emotional self-care, I dare you the next time somebody tries to get on your nerves, you just simply say, God, I thank you. It disassembles and dismantles the enemy's tactics, because they're looking for you to react and not understand. But when you understand that nothing happens to me without God allowing it, you will know for yourself that I can rejoice and be exceedingly glad, because this too shall pass. And can I put a pin right here and put a quarter in the meter for just a moment and tell you, when you're in that emotional self-care, what you have to say and declare and decree to yourself is that I don't look like what I've been through. Somebody, I want to bless your soul right there. The fact of the matter is, the good Lord have taken you through things already that just by virtue of you willing to say, God, I thank you. Well, God, I give you praise. God, I don't understand this, but I trust you. You are the Almighty God, and besides thee, there is no other. I want to help somebody today in your emotional reactions. And here's the thing. You can't control other people's emotions, but you can predict your reactions to their emotions. One of the most beautiful sights is when somebody's coming at you at 1,000 and you're able to be just calm and exemplifying the fruit of the Spirit. Oh my gosh, it is a declaration. You ready? That you have something on the inside that is working on the outside. Oh my gosh. And it brings about a change every time it manifests itself. That's, oh my gosh. Listen, I wanna tell you today that I had to at least get those three in. I think I have time for one more slide. We'll try to go to push through just a little bit further. So we know for sure that we have physical, mental, and emotional. And I wanted to talk now about number 5, spiritual. Oh my gosh! Let me tell you something. Spiritual. I want to slow the gears down because this is a game changer. Self-care, spiritual. Connecting to a higher purpose can be a form of self-care, according to Belmont. For some people, this is tied to religion, but it doesn't have to be. It's about connecting to the fact that your life has meaning and pursuing your passion, Belmont argues. And that's the literature. And I want to take it just a little bit further and submit to you that we were created with a sense of dependency. I want to put a quarter in the meter and hang out right there for a moment. That we were created with a sense of dependency. And can I tell you something? One of the most fulfilling places is to know that you are connected to a higher power. We call that higher power our Heavenly Father. And the reality is, from the very beginning of mankind's existence, we were created to be dependent. I want to stay right there for a moment because something has happened over the course of our time and history that people feel like they can get along by themselves. And I want to tell you something that the pandemic has really wreaked havoc around this notion of spirituality. Spiritual self-care. Do you not know that the Kaiser family research put a survey out, well over 1,000 people, and they said that there is a national decline, 10% drop of people since the pandemic, post-pandemic and since the pandemic, that there's a 10% drop in people attending worship now. And what we know is, as a faith leader, that we have the same venue. We're still trying to do the same things, but unfortunately right now we're trying to do it with less people. But I want to tell you that one of the most fulfilling places in life is when you find your purpose. I want to help somebody today. Number one, your purpose is that you were created to be dependent. You were not created to be self-sustaining or self-sufficient. Let me help you real good. The pandemic taught people during the quarantine that they had to stay in and, don't go to work and don't go to, the community gym and, don't go out and, socialize at these social gatherings. And what we found is that definitely the United States went on what they call a lockdown. And what we found is human beings by default were created to be dependent. And what we now know to be the case is that quarantining has had an overall impact on people, even in their attendance for worship. But I want to take it a step further. My friend, I want you to understand something without any fear of contradiction, that the air that you breathe, it don't belong to you. And it's not yours. And although you use it, I want to help somebody today to do some spiritual self-care, because sometimes we get up, we use this air, which we have to have as humans, and yet somehow we don't give any thanks or appreciation from whence it came. Your ability to be able to see, listen, we learned this early on in school, called the 5 senses, the ability to be able to see, hear, smell, taste, and feel. Lord have mercy. Listen, the very fact that if you can do all 5 of those, you should be putting in the text, thank you, God, for a higher power, for giving me some wherewithal to be able to say thank you. Why do you say that, Williams? Because there are those that get up every morning. They can see, they can hear, they can smell, feel, and touch. And somehow or another think that that's just haphazard and they don't have to give any appreciation for that. Well, I got good news for you. Psalms 150 says, let everything that has breath praise ye the Lord. If you're breathing, listen, if you have senses or sensory awareness, you ought to say thank you. You can teach even a 2-year-old baby, got a grandson, but I tell you one thing, I make him understand that life's about showing gratitude. And when was the last time, my friends, I want to give you another assignment for today. When was the last time you opened your eyes and said, God, I thank you for my vision? When was the last time you got ready to get up and your legs held you and you did not fall? And you say, God, I thank you for giving me strength in this body of mine. Listen, my friends, it's a wonderful, basic human sensory item. It's called gratitude. And I want to ask you, as a pastor, as a faith leader, can I tell you something? I see people every single day who get up, go about their business, come back home, and they go in this routine every day and never discover what their purpose is. My friend, I want to look into the camera and tell you, you were created for a purpose. And one of the most self-fulfilling feelings in the entire world is to finally figure out what you were created for. And you'll know it because that purpose is connected, you ready, to a passion. And sometimes I have people who are new to Christendom, and they say, Pastor, I want to work in the church, but I don't know what to do. There's a wonderful book called The Path, P-A-T-H. You should look it up. It helps people walk through how to discover their passion. But I want to give it to you in the nuts and bolts. Listen, when you're able to do something, and when you do it, and people don't have to call your name because you did it, or you don't have to get paid because you did it, or when you do it, it makes you feel like you have done something wonderful in this greater universe. What we now know is that's your passion. My friends, I know I've been called to ministry. I don't have to be given no accolades for it. I don't have to be given no plaque for it. Listen, I don't have to be given no pay, although you should pay. The Bible is clear about compensations as well. We're not saying go and do it for free. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'll do it even when I don't get treated right financially. Oh, let me tell you something. I do it because I have a passion. And I tell you, I know what my calling is. Do you? Today, I want to ask you, have you slowed down enough? I know you've been busy helping other people. I know you've been busy trying to get your career straight. I know you've been busy trying to juggle 2 and 3 things, but I want to ask you a spiritual self-care question. Do you know your purpose in life? Do you know your passion? I want to bless somebody's soul today. And listen, and when you know it, there ain't a devil in hell that can stop you from doing it. If they put me out in the church, I'll go right out there on the corner and still tell a dying men and women about a man named Jesus. You know why? Because I have found my purpose. What about you today, my friend? You're busy. You're doing a lot of good things. You're helping a lot of people. But there's a text that says, what profit a man gain the whole world and then lose your own soul. I want to ask you today, this is a wonderful place for you to do some self-reflections. Is it settled in your mind what your purpose is? Do you know what your passion is? Like that's the one thing you will do if you can't do nothing else. It's called your passion. And I'm trying to help someone that it's inherently. Let me give you another example because this is critical. You know, there are some people, I say this all the time in ministry, who have the gift of helps. That's the gift of like serving. Some people serve without any struggle. Like you can wake them up at 2 a.m. and call them, and they'll find a way, if it's humanly possible, to try to serve. You don't have to call their name. You don't have to give them no certificate of appreciation. You don't have to put their name in a long list of accolades of people. They're just people who actually genuinely love to serve. Conversely, there are others who they serve, but they're not serving for the right reason. Martin Luther King, the late Martin Luther King Jr., said one of the worst tragedies in life is for a person to do the right thing, but for the wrong reason. And I want to submit to you today that in the process of you doing all these wonderful things, don't forget about spiritual self-care. Because we are humans. We have a body. We have a soul. That's our intellect, our mind. And then we have a spirit. Ultimately, we have to find some resting place for our spirit. And so what I want to suggest to you today, take a moment and just ask yourself, when was the last time I just said, God, I thank you, not for anything today, but for what you've already done? When was the last time? You do know in Luke's gospel, there is a classic story about 10 lepers, and Jesus heals 10 of them, and they're on their way to see the priest. And one, oh Lord, have mercy. Thank God for the one. Are you that one today that turned back and went back to Jesus and said, thank you? It's a basic human need that we all should show gratitude. My friend, when was the last time you just simply said, thank you, Lord, for the many blessings, not today, but for what you've already done? I love this song, so choir that says, if you don't do anything else, you've done enough already. He's done enough. Beverly Crawford, if you want to look it up, he's done enough already. Listen, what the songwriter declares is that if God doesn't do anything else, the fact that he brought us up to this point should be enough for you to say, thank you. I want to suggest to you today that my time is about up. We're going to stop right here on spiritual self-care. And we're going to ask you to go back and look at this video, do some homework, do some reflections to see just exactly what kind of maintenance do you need spiritually. Is your soul man, spirit man, and body in need of some maintenance? And I want you to try to figure out how to be your best self. Can I pray with you today? Father, we thank you. Time well spent today in this social space. We ask, Lord, that the words of our mouth and the meditation of our heart will be accepted in our sight. Oh, Lord, our strength and our redeemer. We come as we close our session today. Somebody's going to leave more empowered. Somebody's going to leave more inspired. But most of all, somebody's going to leave more informed. And I'm asking you right now, if you would even touch us that we can be our best self. Help us to realize we must put our mask on first. Until we're able to meet again, bless us in Jesus' name. Amen. Listen, that's all the time I have for us today. I hope you have learned something today. And if you didn't learn anything, I hope you were inspired to go back and reconnect with your inner self and give yourself some self-care. You're helping others, but you need some self-care yourself. Listen, I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Until next time, hit that share button. Let a friend know that we're doing deep and dirty around self-care, that when you're helping others, don't forget to put your own mask on first. Until then, the Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. May God be gracious unto you. May he give you peace until we meet again. God bless you.